9-bit Armies is a lot of fun with the minimum of voxels, showing once again that gameplay trumps graphics, especially when it comes to RTS games inspired by our long-time favorites of the real-time strategy and base building genre, and on top of that, made by developers who have decades of experience making such games. Petroglyph is doubling down on their previous 8-bit series, and in 2024 we are getting the sequel with new maps, mods and more with full Steam Workshop integration. It has all the hallmarks of the classics, especially the easy to learn but hard to master feel because of its specialized modern military units which have no abilities or skills, and the hard counter system. This is gameplay from the demo of 9-bit Armies A Bit Too Far, which is live during Steam's Next Fest from the 5th of February to the 12th. It allows you to play the first 3 missions of the campaign and in the challenge mode, where I captured the gameplay I showed you in the intro. There is a sort of leveling system with bonuses for your units and buildings as you progress through the campaign missions and both produce and destroy these. You gain a bit of health and damage, but nothing major. The pre-mission briefings show you the objectives and rewards for finishing them, some having a time limit. You can also see your loadout, meaning units and buildings you can construct during the mission, as well as your allies, as this campaign is fully playable in co-op. It is literally designed for it from the get-go, which I love to see. Being able to explore the units and buildings in this pre-battle screen, their costs, construction times and requirements is an awesome feature that more games should implement, as it lets the player prepare for the mission by familiarizing themselves with new units and buildings they have unlocked. Each mission starts with a sort of a cinematic overview of the map, with your commander laying out the friendly and enemy positions as well as the objectives and giving some advice on how to proceed in achieving those objectives. There is no real voiceover, which is a shame, but it has its own flavor in the sound design used, so I won't fault the developers too much for the lack of a real voice actor in these. One thing I like to see is how well differentiated the factions are when it comes to their color and how easy it is to spot units in the environment despite the voxel graphics. This might not sound like a big issue, but there is a considerable number of upcoming RTS games whose developers should take notice and implement such designs into their games, as visual differentiation of units in any in-game environment is a core design feature of any RTS game. The cinematic transitions really smoothly into live gameplay, and the first building available for construction is the refinery, which can only be placed in the green build range around the HQ building. The quick and short callouts from units is nothing less than expected from a game by Petroglyph. It is another hallmark of all well-made RTS games. The map size is quite big compared to buildings and units, so you have considerable room to maneuver and choose the path to the enemy's base. There is a system of power in this game, with power plants supplying a fixed amount and certain buildings spending more or less of it constantly. A single resource, money, comes from the refineries, where the oil gathered is turned into funds for your construction and recruitment. Oil is extracted by derricks, which can't be claimed in any way, so any player harvester can come in and take a load of oil from it. These are spread around each map and have a limited supply in them. The construction animations themselves are really cool, as buildings pop up from their foundations like this barracks building does, and it is where we can recruit the MG and rocket infantry, pretty standard for any such RTS with modern units. The cost of these is quite low compared to the income of money from the refineries, so a lot can be recruited and are necessary, as you will see later in the gameplay. For the vehicles, we need the motor pool building, and in the first mission all we have available to build from it are the armored car, which is basically an anti-infantry scout, and the harvesters to speed up resource collection. New ones are required, so you can better utilize all new refineries, as there is no limit on the number of these, but you are limited by the sources from which oil can be gathered. Units also don't seem to have a limit, but ultimately it is the available resources that will limit how much you can build and not some arbitrary limit set by the game. Some manual management of harvesting vehicles is required to make sure the optimal number of these services each refinery and keeps the money flowing into your account. You can definitely say that this game doesn't try to reinvent anything, just put its own spin on the 90s gameplay we all love and play to this day. To some, this might not be enough, to others, it might feel perfect. Feel free to tell me what you think about this in the comments below. There are several kinds of quality of life gameplay commands and orders you should be aware of when playing. Holding down the control key when ordering up units to be recruited lets you order 5 at once. Usually this is the shift key in RTS games, so I found this a strange choice of default keyboard commands. Being able to chain waypoints and attack commands with the shift key is quite welcome, and you can even switch between ordering units to move and attack, using shift plus right click to move, while shift plus E or shift plus control plus right click for the attack move command. There is even a scatter command to make units disperse and reduce damage from long-range artillery and its splash damage. As you can see, the combat is quite fast and deadly, with units tearing each other to bloody shreds in seconds when two armies meet. Knowing which unit counters which and what to bring with you on the attack is key in mastering this kind of an RTS. For this and many other subjects, like the keyboard and mouse commands I already mentioned, you can consult the many pages of the in-game manual, accessible by clicking on this icon in the top left corner. Not only is the information here curated according to subject, but also visually represented with short clips showing you how and what to do, while the text gives you the tips and teaches you specific commands. It is here that I myself learned of megastructures. This is a concept where when you construct buildings like the power plant, radar or turret in a 2x2 setup next to each other, they are transformed into massive, bigger and more powerful versions of themselves. This was a welcome surprise and spice for the familiar gameplay. The manual also holds pages which explain to you unit counters, what certain icons in the build menus mean, that you can blow up bridges which will auto repair after a while, and you can even learn two whole tech trees of the two factions. These are the Overlord and Sentinel. The mega buildings are also represented here, so you don't have to experiment to learn which ones have this ability. The one other feature I love and definitely did expect from Petroglyph is their by now trademark battle cam. You can click on it in the upper right corner and it randomly jumps from unit to unit, showing you combat very close up and personal, almost level with the ground. It is a feature I adored in Star Wars Empire 4, and it is awesome to see it again here in 9-bit Armies. Learning that multiple unit recruitment buildings speed up the process of getting new units instead of giving you parallel production queues was also quite interesting, and not what you can usually expect to see in such RTS games. The more of these production buildings for units I constructed, the faster the units got recruited, and I was able to build up sizable armies. That is, I would have had I not kept losing them in combat all the time. There is a healthy mix of ground, naval and air units in 9-bit Armies in both of the factions, and some maps are made with more focus on one type or require a certain type to be able to complete all the objectives. Super weapons and defensive structures are also in the game, so another key ingredient of RTS games is present here as well. Those are not over the top, but they are quite powerful. One thing I have to remark on when it comes to map design are the multitudes of choke points and raised hills for bases. The choke points allow for easier map control, but can sometimes slow down the gameplay and lock up sections of the map, while the raised hills, in addition to the line of sight mechanic, give the defender of the base a somewhat of an advantage, especially with correct placement of defensive buildings and turrets. Some of the other interesting quirks of the game is the infantry's ability to demolish buildings more quickly when they get in close and throw demolition charges on them. The civilian buildings found across the map can be crushed under vehicle tracks, while one of the most surprising things was the purple monsters/aliens I came up against in the last mission of the demo. They looked like some sort of meat-eating dinosaurs or maybe monsters from the Alien movie. Their melee attack is quite powerful and they're not easy to kill. There is a lot more to discover in this game and I don't want to show you everything, as where is the fun in that? Thank you for watching and happy gaming!